Section 1. SCOTUS strikes again. And this time, it's personal. Well, for Trump. Hey there, America. It's your favorite British commentator here, back to explain another baffling episode of American politics. This time, it's the Supreme Court and their adorable little gavels, weighing in on whether former President Trump can be held accountable for, well, anything. The Supreme Court, in their infinite wisdom, decided that presidents have something called immunity for core acts carried out while in office. Now, you might be thinking, John, that sounds reasonable. And you'd be right, in a completely different universe. Because, you see, defining core acts is like trying to nail jelly to a wall. Messy, frustrating, and likely to end with someone getting hurt. But fear not, dear viewers, because we're diving headfirst into this legal quagmire. Buckle up, Buttercup. It's about to get constitutional up in here.
All right, let's talk core acts, shall we? According to the Supreme Court, these are actions taken by the president that are within the outer perimeter of his official responsibilities. Yes, you heard that right, outer perimeter. It's like they took a page out of the Department of Redundancy Department's handbook. Basically, it means anything the president does that's even remotely related to their job as president could be considered a core act. Think signing bills, deploying troops, even tweeting. Yes, apparently tweeting can now be a matter of national security. So, does this mean presidents are now invincible superheroes with the power to do whatever they want? Well, not quite. There are still some limits, but they're about as clear as a glass of orange juice after Trump's had his way with it. In other words, it's complicated. But don't worry, we'll get there.
Now, presidential immunity isn't a new concept. It's been around longer than Crocs, and trust me, that's a long time. The Founding Fathers, in their infinite wisdom, most of the time, realized that giving one person that much power could lead to, well, a whole lot of shenanigans. So, they built in some safeguards like impeachment and the ability to sue the government. But they also recognized that presidents need some level of protection to do their jobs without constantly looking over their shoulders. Think of it like the Witness Protection Program, but instead of a new identity, you get a pardon for accidentally launching a trade war with Canada. Over the years, there have been plenty of cases where presidents have tested the limits of their immunity. Nixon and Watergate, Clinton, and, well, you know, the dress. The point is, it's a messy business, this whole presidential immunity thing. And with this latest ruling, the Supreme Court has basically thrown a bucket of gasoline on an already raging dumpster fire.
Section 4, core versus non-core deciphering the presidential to-do list. So, how do we tell a core act from a regular non-core act? It's a bit like trying to explain the offside rule in soccer. Even I struggle with that one. But let's give it a go, shall we? A core act would be something like, say, ordering a drone strike, negotiating a treaty, or pardoning a turkey at Thanksgiving. You know, presidential stuff. A non-core act, on the other hand, would be something like, I don't know, using campaign funds to pay off a porn star or inciting an insurrection at the Capitol. See, clear as mud, right? The problem is, there's a lot of grey area. What about things like using your personal Twitter account to conduct government business? Or pressuring foreign governments to investigate your political rivals? Are those core acts, or just bad judgment? The Supreme Court, in their infinite wisdom, or perhaps just a desire to avoid actually making a decision, left that up to the lower courts to figure out. Which, let's be honest, is like asking a toddler to solve a Rubik's Cube.
Section 5. The future of POTUS. More power, more problems. So what does this all mean for the future of the presidency? Well, it's not exactly a good look for democracy, is it? Imagine a president, any president, knowing they can act with near impunity while in office. It's a recipe for abuse, for a level of executive power that would make even King George III blush. And let's be honest, the bar for presidential behavior isn't exactly set very high these days. Now, I'm not saying that every president from now on is going to turn into a power-hungry tyrant, but it does create a dangerous precedent, one where the president is effectively above the law while in office. And that, my friends, is a slippery slope we don't want to go down. Unless, of course, you're into that whole authoritarian regime thing.
Section 6, the final verdict, Trump, Twitter, and the tangled web we weave. So, what does this ruling mean for Trump himself? Well, it's complicated. The Supreme Court didn't actually rule on whether or not he could be sued for his actions related to the January 6th insurrection. They simply sent the case back down to the lower courts to be reevaluated in light of this new CORE Act standard. So basically they kicked the can down the road, which, let's be honest, is what they're best at. But one thing's for sure, this ruling will have a lasting impact on how we view presidential power and accountability. And who knows? Maybe it'll even inspire Trump to finally learn what CORE Acts actually means. Don't hold your breath, though. I'm not sure they teach constitutional law at Mar-a-Lago.
Section 7. Conclusion. So, are we all doomed? Spoiler alert, maybe not. So, there you have it, folks. The Supreme Court has spoken, and it seems like presidents can now add temporary immunity to their list of job perks. But hey, at least we still have the Second Amendment, right? Because if there's one thing that screams stable democracy, it's the ability to amass a personal arsenal. But on a more serious note, this ruling is a reminder that our democracy is a fragile thing, a delicate balance of power that requires constant vigilance to maintain. And while it might be tempting to throw our hands up in despair, to retreat to our bunkers with a lifetime supply of Twinkies and rage tweet about the impending apocalypse, we can't give up. Because as long as there are people willing to fight for it, to hold our leaders accountable and demand better from our government, there's always hope. And if all else fails, there's always the option of moving to Canada. I hear they have universal healthcare and a prime minister who doesn't incite insurrections. Just saying. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share.